I read 11 books this month. And I'm very, very happy with my reading month. So let's just get right into it. I'm gonna do what I usually do. I'm gonna start at the lowest rated book that I read this month all the way to the highest. So if you want to see my 4 and 5 stars, the timestamps are down below. Something that I want to add into my wrap-ups is actually mood boards. I've been so into Pinterest mood boards recently that I just want to throw it up on the screen, because every single book that I'm going to talk about, I created a mood board for. So I will share that. If anyone's visual, you know, some people like a visual of the book that I'm talking about. It'll be up on the screen. Starting with the lowest rated book that I read this month, it was 2.5 stars. I'm in the minority here. People are gonna dislike this opinion. I'm okay with it. Just let me say what I gotta say. Done and dusted. Let me talk about this book briefly, because the next book that I'm going to talk about is really similar. This one just didn't have enough depth for me. Although, like, I really do love cowboy romances, I feel like the only other ones that I've read are Elsie Silver, and I feel like hers have so much depth. And this is a short little book, and it just seemed a little too fast-paced, which made scenes cringy. Like, it just seemed so insta-lovey and so not what I'm used to, and the lack of depth between the characters, I just didn't enjoy this book. Again, I'm in the minority. I know it was fast and fun. I will give it that. Like, it was a fun book. Yeah. Emmy, our main character, leaves the big city to come back to her hometown due to some big city issues that she's going through. But she stumbles into Luke, who is her brother's best friend. Luke is all grown now. He was the town bad boy, but now he owns the local bar. Things have changed. They've grown up. It just seemed a little insta-lovey. I don't know, but let's talk about the next book, which is in the 3-star category, and it's actually okay, I'm gonna leave this. Wild Love by Elsie Silver. And these two, you guys, had very, very, very similar plots, maybe plus and minus a few tropes here and there. Our main character, Rosie, comes back to her small town after the big city life due to some big city life things, and happens to run into her brother's best friend, Ford. I mean, the plots were just super, super similar. And I read these back to back, and that was not a good idea. I should not have done that. So I gave this book 3 stars. Still a cute book. Like, cuter than I thought Done and Dusted was. But if you liked Done and Dusted and you haven't read Elsie Silver yet, I suggest you do, because there's more to it. There is one trope in this that I actually really liked, and the way that they went around it was really unique. And if you've read this book, you probably know what I'm talking about. I think it's known that these are single dad romance books. Like, this new series of hers is going to be full of single dads, but the way they went around that trope was really cool and really unique. I loved it. I don't know, maybe because I just read it after Done and Dusted, my opinion was skewed. But first 2 books, Fate, Inked, and Blood, it kind of lost me after the 30% mark. There were just some things that were happening that I wasn't really grasping, I wasn't really liking. I wanted the main 2 love interests to get together faster than they did. I was being impatient, and that's a flaw of mine. This is an adult fantasy romance novel, so there is some smutty, some sexy scenes in there. Basically, Freya, our main character, has this super, super rare ability. The region's Jarl actually takes notice of this and takes notice of her and sweeps her up, and well, that's a spoiler. There's just a lot going on. Really picked up in the last 10% for me. I do think I'll continue the series, but I was just a little bored in the middle half. 30 to 90%, I was a little bored. Maybe it was the setting, because I really, really loved the characters, the 2 main characters, but I wanted more of them. So I think that's kind of where it lost me. Still a great book, 3 stars. Would recommend if you like the Viking fantasy element. I do think it was really good. I love her writing. I have this beautiful edition. I love it. It's pretty, it's cute. You guys already know. You guys know I love this series. This is book 4 in the Vicious Lost Boys series. It's an adult fantasy, retelling, romance, reverse harem. There's a lot in there. This is one of my favorite reverse harem series. It's dark, it's twisted, it's full of smut, but in book 3 and 4, the plot really picks up. There's a lot more plot involved than there is smut. I would say there's like 3 or 4 smut scenes in this, and it's pretty dang short. You don't have a lot of time for plot. It requires no brain cells, and sometimes that's all you need. So simple, Peter Pan retelling. If you want something that requires no thinking, this is a great series. I don't know if it's finished or not. Like, on Goodreads, it looks like it's finished, but it ended in a way that it could be continued, maybe in like a spin-off series. I don't know. I will be reading whatever the next series is that Nikki St. Croix writes. The next one is also another novella. I picked up Killjoy. I actually got this past weekend for $7 at a local bookstore, and it is a YA mystery thriller. 0.5 in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. So this is before Pip gets on her journey of solving murder in her hometown. I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder a few years ago, so getting back into this was so nice, so fun. I love Pip. It was nice being back in her like brain, but it was challenging because I forgot some of the things going on and like the character names. It's taken place in one night during a birthday party of a friend of Pip's, and it's kind of this murder mystery game that they're all playing where everyone is a certain character and they're trying to figure out who did the murder. It's a game. And Pip takes it way too seriously, as usual, and I think that it was so fun, and it actually inspired Pip to solve the mystery because of her senior project. So it was really interesting seeing the before A Good Girl's Guide to Murder Pip after is so different. Like, it was a fun book, and I think 3 stars does it justice. It's just like, it's a novella. I gave A Good Girl's Guide to Murder 5 stars. All of those books, I'm pretty sure. I loved that series, but this book was just, it's so short. I think I finished it in like 3 hours. Like, it's 118 pages. Super easy. I had one 3.5 star book, and it's actually a novella as well. I was in a novella mood. Powerful by Lauren Roberts. I was not expecting the heartbreak. I was, because I read Powerless, so I knew what was gonna happen, but I just kind of forgot. I was not expecting it at the end. I was like, oh wow, that came out of nowhere. And Adina is adorable. She was so spunky, so fun. Her and her love for sewing and fabrics and creating things was just incredible, and like you could feel the love that she had for creating in the book. Like, it was so beautifully done. Mac, our main love interest, is dark and broody and only shares his smiles with Adina, and I hope he gets some serious revenge in Reckless. Like, if he doesn't have a huge part in the next book, I'm gonna be so mad. Getting right into the 4-star books, I had quite a few this month. The first one being Check and Mate by Allie Hazelwood. It is a new adult contemporary romance. It's also advertised as young adult. I do not think it's young adult. I know it won the Goodreads Choice Awards for young adult. I don't understand why. It's not young adult. Like, new adult, like, that makes sense to me. Young adult, no way. There's some vulgar language. There is a little bit of spice in it, and it's pretty closed door, but like a little bit spicier than I think a young adult should be reading. But it was so stinking cute. Nolan, our main male character, is ranked #1 chess player in the whole world, and Mal could be if she actually played chess. So she used to play chess. Some family stuff happened, and she took kind of this bigger role in the family setting. She stepped up and is taking care of her younger sisters, kind of quit chess. Like, she could have been super, super great. Somehow she gets swept into the chess industry again and takes over, and Nolan is so supportive. He's obviously the #1 chess player, but in recent years he hasn't had a competition. He just keeps winning. So when she steps in and beats him in this minor tournament, his whole world is blown apart and he's obsessed with her. Like, he cannot stop thinking about her. He wants to be around her. It was great. Mallory is hilarious. Like, her inner dialogue I loved. Super cute. One Dark Window, I also rated this book 4 stars. It is a young adult fantasy romance. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. I felt like it was the perfect start to a new series. I have not read book 2 yet, but I plan to soon. Let me describe the plot in the simplest way. But there are these cards in this world. Let's call them tarot cards, even though that they're not called that. These tarot cards that hold specific powers, and when the wielder has a card, when a person has this card, they wield that power. I loved this concept. I felt like it was so unique, and there's kind of this like plague that's going around in this world, and I don't want to get too much in depth in that, but our main character Elspeth has one of the cards basically stuck in her head. So she has this like second mind kind of speaking to her and guiding her through things, and she's had it for multiple years, like in her head, so she kind of absorbs magic. It was so unique. Romance in it was so subtle, but the quotes in here, he was a dream man written in a book. And Elspeth kind of gets sucked into this rebel group against the king, and it kind of goes from there. I'm guessing book 2 will expand more, obviously, but for the first book in a young adult series, you guys know I don't even really love young adult, but I read a lot this month, and this one really blew me away. I'm excited to continue the series. Saving Sex by Chloe Walsh. This is a contemporary new adult romance. This series, y'all, it's so frustrating, but it's hard to be frustrated because you understand what they're going through, and they're teenagers and so much is going on in their little life, and I'm like, what is this high school? This is book 3 in the Boys of Tommen series. I did read the first 2 books, loved them. Johnny and Shannon will have a spot in my heart forever. This book is about Joey and Aoife, and Joey is Shannon from the first book's brother, so it's kind of like same friend group, same world. I mean, you see Johnny and Shannon in the first 2, where Johnny is like head over heels for Shannon, so protective and such like a good boy. Shannon is so naive and shy and timid, and you're like, oh, my heart hurts for her. In this book, Joey's a dick and Aoife doesn't have boundaries, and it's like there's so many unhealthy, toxic things going on in this relationship that I loved it. It was great. Joey definitely says some things and is an asshole for a reason. He kind of keeps people at bay. He doesn't like getting close to anyone for some valid reasons, so I can't fault him for them. But Aoife quite literally cannot take no for an answer and has no boundaries when it comes to Joey, and is just so obsessed with him and won't leave him alone, but he loves her. So it's like, it's a really toxic relationship for their age. I don't know what I was doing at 14, 15, 16, and 17, but it was not this. Like, it was not this. I was obsessed with One Direction. not a boy who hated me. You just have to read this series to kind of get into it. There's not a lot of description. It is so full of dialogue. It's very fan fiction-y. I can't get enough. I'm excited to read Redeeming 6. Actually, I'm not excited. I've heard that I'm gonna break down, but that's fine. Getting into the 5 stars. I had 2 5 stars this month. I can't stop thinking about them. First one, The Dixon Rule by Elle Kennedy. I did do a book review on this already, so if you want to go watch that, or if you already have, I'm gonna briefly talk about this book. This is an adult contemporary sports romance. Lots of smut, lots of spice. Be careful going into it. I read a lot of her books, and this is my favorite one. Diana and Shane start out as frenemies. They're neighbors, they don't really like each other, but because they're neighbors, they're kind of in that forced proximity. They're forced to get to know each other a little bit. Then they become friends with benefits. They are friends with benefits for most of the book. There is a little bit of fake dating involved due to some weird circumstances going on, but then it becomes more, obviously, in the later half of the book. My face was stuck in this book, like this. I could not put it down. Like, it was a different kind of addicted. Like, I was so hooked because of Shane and Diana. Their chemistry was incredible, and the smut in this one had some kinks touched on. Like, there was a lot of different kinds of smut in this book, which I loved. I found it intriguing, and I think it opens healthy conversations and opens doors for other characters as well. There were some heavy topics talked about. I feel like in these sports romances there usually are heavy topics, but she keeps it light because of all of the extracurricular things going on. There's a dance competition going on, cheerleading practices, hockey games, pool parties, fake dating, crazy exes, and more. Like, there's just so much going on in this book that it's hard to put down, because every chapter there's something new. Deserved 5 stars. Like, I'm so happy. And like The Graham Effect, the first book in the series, I also gave 5 stars. This series is just getting me. You should read it. I read Manacled. I'm still processing that book, and I'm still thinking about that book. It's hard to describe the feelings that book gave me. Manacled is an adult fantasy fan fiction of Harry Potter. Think Harry Potter meets Handmaid's Tale. It's kind of fucked up. For those who haven't seen Manacled around on literally every social media platform ever, it is a alternate version of Harry Potter. So it's where Voldemort wins, Harry Potter is dead, and Draco and Hermione are our main love interests. Handmaid's Tale, if you don't know what that's about, Voldemort is trying to, let's just say, save the wizarding population and enforces a breeding program. It's dark, it's twisty, it's sad and heartbreaking and depressing. Like, when I say dark, I mean it. Like, it's really dark. You are stuck, literally stuck in Hermione's brain for most of the book, and she is going through some traumatic things. I'm talking trigger warnings out the butt. I luckily and thankfully am not affected by certain trigger warnings, like me personally. Obviously they're very sad and heartbreaking, and I don't love reading about them, but the trigger warnings are very present in this book, so please be careful going into it. I went into this book completely blind. I knew it was an alternate version of Harry Potter. I didn't really know the whole Handmaid's Tale aspect was in it, but I will not accept any other version of Harry Potter now. And I went to Universal Harry Potter World when I was 18, and I cried when I first stepped in there. Like, I am a huge Harry Potter fan, Hufflepuff for life, like super diehard, but this one makes it really hard to not like the darker version. I was really into this in a really sad way. Like, I wasn't into it. Now I'm just digging myself a hole. Anyway, I would recommend this book if you're willing to kind of open your mind to an alternate Harry Potter. I thought that the last page broke my heart. I did not want to talk about this book when I finished it because I was like, no. All right, goodbye. It was 900 plus pages, so it's kind of hard to dislike this book. You're with them for so long. I enjoyed it. I think you should read it. That is it for May. I feel like it was a good frickin' month. I loved the books that I read. Please comment down below if you've read any of these books, and if you haven't, do you plan to? What are your thoughts, feelings? I want to know. Please like and subscribe. I will see you guys in the next video. Let's have a good month in June.